From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Women in Northern European nations are closest to equality with men in education, health, and wages. That is the finding of a report from the World Economic Forum. The United States is 28th on the group's list. Recently, President Barack Obama said, "The government will require large businesses to report how much they pay men and women. This information will be used to target companies that pay women less to do the same jobs." The report found that women worldwide continue to fall behind men on wages. Based on current estimates, they will need 126 years to catch up, according to the report. Women are making progress, but they still only earn what men did 10 years ago, the report says. The World Economic Forum measured the differences between men and women on health, education, political power, and economic prospects. Of the 145 nations studied, women have not realized equality in any of the nations included, says the report. Women come closest to equality in 4 Northern European nations: Iceland, Norway, Finland, and Sweden. Ireland rated number 5 on the list. At the bottom of the ratings are Yemen, Pakistan, Syria, Chad, Iran, and Jordan. More women than men are attending colleges and universities in 97 nations, but women make up a majority of skilled workers in only 68 nations. Women control the majority of government and political positions in only 4. The World Economic Forum completed its survey in November. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball. From VOA Learning English, this is the Health Report. The ancient Romans are known for military strength and political complexity, but the empire also developed a public sanitation system. The Romans built public latrines or toilets with many seats and washing areas. They also brought in fresh drinking water and warm water for cleaning. They even had laws to keep the towns free of human and other waste. But new archaeological research shows that baths and public toilets with washing areas did not lower disease rates. In fact, some diseases slowly increased compared to the period just before Roman rule of Europe. Piers Mitchell is with the Archaeology and Anthropology Department of Cambridge University in England. He led the new research. The findings suggest that Roman toilets, washing areas, and sanitation laws had no clear benefit to public health. Mitchell gathered evidence of insects in ancient latrines and human burials. He also examined combs and cloth from archaeological digs across the Roman Empire. Although the Romans were known for regular bathing, Mitchell found lice and fleas were just as widespread as in earlier times. So, why did the Roman development of sanitation systems fail? Mitchell says it may have been the warm waters of the bathhouses that people shared. The waters were often not changed, and scum or a layer of human dirt would float on the top of the bathing water. He says there is an upside. It seems that while Roman sanitation may not have made people any healthier, they probably would have smelled better. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Health Report. In the Saudi city of Jeddah, a group of athletes is urging women and girls to get out of their homes. The basketball players suggest that the women become active in public life. The group's members say they can do this by connecting sports to health issues. All of the players are women. Saudi Arabia is one of the richest countries in the Middle East. In many ways, it is very modern in terms of public health services and transportation. But activists say the country has a long way to go on women's rights. At an event in Jeddah for disabled boys and girls, female basketball players say that women's sports are becoming more popular. Men do not attend the games. The players wear head coverings and white uniforms that extend over their arms and legs. Players say women's rights in Saudi Arabia have come a long way in recent years. But they say many freedoms, like the right to drive a car, still seem far away. Last year, women in Saudi Arabia voted for the first time. 20 women were elected into local offices. Female athletes say they believe Saudi women's sports will be accepted in the same way someday. Deborah Parkwood is head of the Jeddah United basketball team. She says there are great female athletes in Saudi Arabia. She says the girls want to train harder, play harder, and compete for their country internationally. For now, players say local women's sports are having an immediate effect. They say it shows mothers the value of physical exercise for themselves and for their children. For VOA Learning English, I'm Jonathan Evans. From VOA Learning English, this is the Science Report. What happened to Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 almost 2 years ago is still a mystery. The passenger plane was traveling from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, to Beijing, China. The flight disappeared over the Indian Ocean. The plane held 239 people, and all are thought to have died. Experts are still looking for wreckage from the missing Boeing 777 plane. Experts think the Malaysian Airlines plane crashed in very deep waters. An American company, Phoenix International, specializes in underwater searches. It is helping to examine the waters off the western coast of Australia. The company examines large areas of the ocean floor. Parts of the Indian Ocean in the area are 6,000 meters deep. The ocean floor is not easy to explore. An Australian search report said that underwater mountains, deep holes, and very tall, sharp rocks make searching difficult. An underwater search device crashed into a tall mud volcano in January. Its rope split and the device sunk to the ocean floor. But wreckage from 2 ships has been found. Photographs taken underwater found a ship made of steel or iron from the 19th century. Wreckage from another ship was located in May. The only wreckage of Flight 370 found so far was a piece of the plane that washed up on Reunion Island in 2015. Reunion Island is in the western Indian Ocean near Madagascar. The search area is now limited to 60,000 square kilometers near Australia. Investigators say they will end all search efforts in June. For VOA Learning English, I'm Jonathan Evans.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Science Report. American and European scientists have new equipment to watch the world's oceans. The Jason 3 satellite launched in January. It is designed to record rising sea levels. Scientists say satellite information recorded over the last 20 years shows sea levels rising fast. They say the fast rising seas are an indicator of climate change. Josh Willis is the lead project scientist for the operation at NASA. He says the Jason 3 satellite collects information using radar. He explains that satellite records have been kept for only about 25 years, but measurements of how the oceans have been changing go back thousands of years. He says the past 2,000 years have been stable in terms of sea level and the Earth's temperature. But in the past 100 years, sea levels have risen quickly. He said that is because of the warming of Earth. All material, including water, expands when heated. The Jason 3 satellite measures how high the surface of the sea is. This permits scientists to estimate how much extra heat is stored in the ocean. Eric Luliet is with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. He says sea levels are an expression of climate change for 2 reasons. He says excess heat is causing the ocean to expand. And he says the planet's warming causes glacial ice to melt into the oceans and increase sea levels. Luliet says Jason 3 information will help scientists monitor the effects of rising sea levels. He says it will also help in predicting and preparing for big storms. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. In Cuba, the internet and other forms of modern communication are not easily available. Most people have smartphones, but they are limited to making and receiving calls. It is difficult to connect to social media, send emails, and text. Most Cubans do not have an internet connection in their homes. To use the internet, they first must buy a password. Businesses sell them on little pieces of paper. Each password costs about 2.5 Cuban convertible pesos. That is equal to about $2.50. Users then go to a public park or a hotel with an internet connection. In a park about 15 minutes from downtown Havana, hundreds of Cubans come at all times of the day and night to use the internet. Recently, about 50 people were there, each holding a phone, talking with friends and family, or catching up on social networks. Suki John was born in New York. He is a dance teacher and has been coming to Cuba to work for many years. He goes to the park to connect to the internet and says it is now more available. John says using the internet was not possible when he was in Cuba a year and a half ago. Things have improved because American President Barack Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro are talking, John says. Having the internet in parks has let Cubans learn what is happening in the rest of the world, he says. It costs about $3 an hour to connect to the internet. That is too costly for many Cubans who earn about $30 a month. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Persutti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. A new report says businesses around the world are not keeping up with new and tricky methods of computer crime. The international technology company Cisco Systems released the report. It said businesses are trying to prevent computer system security breaks using old technology and policies. The report describes big mistakes businesses have made in trying to stop computer attacks. Cisco examined 115,000 devices. It says almost all of them had security weaknesses in their software. Jason Brevnick is a top engineer at Cisco Systems. He told VOA that computer criminals will attack systems owned by a company or an individual. He said criminals will work together to target a computer system and steal information. Brevnik said, companies are starting to guard their computer systems continuously. This helps them identify and quickly answer attacks. He said, many companies do not discover attacks until 100 days or more after they happen. However, Brevnik said new programs are able to identify attacks within hours. Tara Sinclair is with the jobs listing website Indeed.com. She says computer attacks have caused a large increase in the need for computer security experts. The company Symantec is the largest seller of security software in the world. It says the number of people needed for computer security jobs will grow to 1.5 million by 2019. Cisco's Jason Brevnik told VOA that universities are training students for the growing computer security market. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. The social media company Twitter has shut down more than 125,000 accounts in the past 8 months. Most of the accounts reportedly were connected to extremist groups that aid terrorism. Twitter posted a blog in which the company said it condemns the use of Twitter to support terrorism. It also said that Twitter rules clearly state that any violent threat is not permitted on the service. Twitter has said it only closes accounts when they are reported by other users. But it said it had increased the size of teams that receive and act on the reports. Twitter said its reaction time to reports is much faster now than it once was. The company said it has already seen results because of these actions. Many social media companies are taking stronger steps against extremist groups that use their websites. Facebook is leading the way. Legislators have proposed forcing companies to report terrorist activity on their sites to law enforcement. Social media companies are concerned about governmental interference in the industry. Twitter said that it has cooperated with law enforcement at the right times. It said that it seeks balance in enforcing its rules and supporting law enforcement with the desire of users to share their views. Seamus Hughes is Deputy Director of George Washington University's Program on Extremism. He said that many extremists have moved to smaller, less watched social media services in recent months. For VOA Learning English, I'm Jonathan Evans.
Valentine's Day is when we celebrate everything about falling and being in love. But finding and keeping our true love, that can be tricky. Hollywood knows.
I'm in love with you.
Snap out of it!
All my life, I've been waiting for someone, and when I find her, she's She's a fish.
Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be any part of.
There is Hollywood, and there is real life. Joyce Morris and Norwood Thomas know that. Thomas, a World War II veteran, met Morris, his first love, in war-torn London. It was 1944. He was 21 years old. She was 18. They fell in love, but the war separated them. They went on to marry other people, Thomas in the United States, Morris in Australia. He kept her photograph. She never forgot him. Morris's marriage ended. Thomas's wife died.
A World War II veteran.
In 2010, Thomas did something that caught the media's attention. He went skydiving on his 88th birthday.
My last jump was in Normandy on June 6, 1944. It was a combat jump in France.
The attention resulted in Thomas and Morris reconnecting on Skype last year. That led to donations that permitted Thomas to fly to Australia for Valentine's Day.
What's the first thing you're going to do?
I'm going to give her a squeeze.
They hugged each other for the first time in more than 70 years.
So very long.
Their story proves it's never too late for love and a Hollywood ending.
Anything can happen, don't you think?
Yes, darling.